Hey guys, welcome to Martin Mittrucker's Tips and Tricks. My name's Martin Mittrucker. I'm not a professional, but I play one on YouTube. Please hit the subscribe button, the like button. We really appreciate it. Today we're going to be talking about replacing an electrical outlet. I have this broken down in a couple of different groups. We're going to start out with replacing the outlet on the bench so that you have a better view. And then I actually did like a live video as I was replacing that outlet, one that was actually painted over, so it was really hard to get the outlet out. So it's a really good scenario on what you might actually come across. Stay tuned, here we go. Okay, I wanted to show you the difference in outlets. This is a ground fault outlet, and we're not going to talk about this today because it has to be wired up a special way, and we just don't have enough time to talk about that. So we're going to set that aside. This is a 20 amp outlet, and the reason you can tell it's a 20 amp, you can see there's an extra slot here that goes off to the side. A special plug that is on some machinery and stuff like that required 20 amp plug. You don't typically see this in the house. You might see it if you have like a window unit you need to wire up to a 20 amp outlet. It has to be wired to a properly wired circuit with a 20 amp circuit breaker. If you put this in a 15 amp breaker and you use the device that has that 20 amp plug, you can just keep blowing the breakers. This is very typical outlet, but it has a different kind of a clamping system for the wire. You're not supposed to really wrap the wires around the screw with this one. Instead, there's a slot that you put the bare wire into, and when you tighten up the screw, it clamps that wire, okay? You do have to strip it far enough. There is a strip gauge. It's a strip gauge. So that wire has to be stripped that long, typically about ½ inch, so that when you slide it in, you get a good contact, okay? This is a 15 amp outlet. As you can see, it doesn't have that extra slot right there. It does have the brass for your hot, silver for your neutral, green for your ground, or it'll ground through the box through these screws itself. This is probably the most typical outlet. You still have the brass for the hot, silver or chrome for the neutral, green for the ground, or it grounds through the outside. This one also has these little plastic covers to help keep paper clips, you know, kids putting paper clips in here. This is a typical outlet. It has two ways to hook up wires. You can hook a wire around the screw itself, and then there's also a insert where you can push the wire in, and we'll show you that later. Okay, before we get to this outlet, I just wanted to show you, I'm using these two screwdrivers here. I actually mostly use my Phillips screwdriver. It's made by GB. I'll have a link in the description below. They're insulated, so it helps protect you if for some reason you accidentally come across a circuit that's live. So this is a typical outlet that we talked about earlier. This is one that you're mostly going to find at the hardware store and replace in the wall itself. Okay, so we're going to show you how to deal with 3 different wires, or I should say 3 different ways to wire this outlet up. Okay, so this is 14 gauge wire, and it's stranded. So there's stranded wire and there's solid wire, and a lot of the newer homes, they're going to stranded wire, and the reason they're going to stranded wire is that carry more current versus a solid wire. So because of that, you're going to see more of this. If you have a wire that's already got a hook on it, if you got enough wire, there's no reason why you can't cut off, get yourself a nice clean end, okay? And you have one of these stranded wires and you pulled it off the old outlet and it's all messed up, just cut it off and give you a nice clean end, okay? And once you get a clean end, you're gonna go about 1.25 inches up, and you're gonna strip this, but not all the way. So watch this. I'm gonna squeeze my strippers, make that cut, let up a little bit, and I'm gonna pull, but I'm not pulling all the way out. I'm only gonna go about 3/4 of an inch, a little bit more than a ½ inch, maybe 5/8 to 3/4 of an inch, and that's all you need. Okay, I'm leaving the insulation on. I'm gonna give it a little bit of a twist, just give me a nice clean twist. And that's what you do to prepare the wire before you put it on the outlet. Now I'm going to take that outlet, I'm going to use my power side, And I'm going to basically take and hook this down here. And keep in mind, the screw goes in a clockwise rotation, so wrap this wire around in a clockwise rotation like this. And you can see now I have this hooked on both hooks that are in the outlet. And I'm going to keep down pressure. I'm going to use my thumb and finger and pull down while I'm holding the outlet with my other finger here. And tighten it up. Now I have a really good solid connection and didn't spread out all over the place. And you can just leave that there, you don't have to take it off. If you take it off, you're gonna expose the wire. That's another spot that can hit the side of your box. So just leave the wire just like that. Important note, this screw here is loose. So I always take my screws and tighten them up that I don't use. And the reason is, if you don't use it, you leave it out, it's a greater chance it might hit the side of the box when you're messing with it and then cause a short. You screw it in, you got a lot more clearance. You do the same thing for both sides, okay? All right, now I'm going to use solid core wire. I'm going to show you a different way to use solid core. With this outlet, you have these 4 holes back here. It allows you to put the wires in here, all right? Now to do that, first thing is, if you're not using the screws, screw them all the way in. So screw these in. Now, to use these to insert the wire, what you have to do is you have to strip it, and there's a strip gauge. Let me see if you can see this. Right angle there. There it is. See that double-ended arrow? That's a strip gauge. So you'll be able to see it better when you're, when it's right in front of your face. So I know how much I need to strip, which is about 3/4 of an inch. So I'm gonna, again, you use electrician's pliers or strippers. Use the right setting here. I'm gonna strip it. I'm gonna look. It's a little long, so I'm gonna just snip off a little bit. Okay, I'm like right on the money now. That's my gauge. So I've gauged this. I have the right amount of stripped wire, and I'm ready to insert it. I go, the hole closest to the brass side is your hot wire. The hole closest to the silver or chrome side is your neutral wire. So I'm going to use that one. I can either use this one or this one, it doesn't matter. The only time this will matter is if you're going to use this for an outlet, which you'll see later, and you want one side to be switch power and the other side to be power all the time, like continuous power. So if you have continuous power here, switch power here, I'm going to use the hot black wire, because usually that's the hot. That's going to go into this side, and on this side you would put your blue wire or red wire or whatever it is that's coming from the switch. But then you also have to break off a little brass tang here that you just take pliers, bend it back and forth a couple of times, and then it breaks off, okay? And that allows you to give you 2 separate dedicated circuits. You can use the common neutral for both, but you just break that side off, okay? All right, so now I got my wire stripped. This is how hard it is. You take it, you find the hole. Okay, I'm going to take my hole, insert it in my hole, and I'm going to push it in. And you push it till it stops, and look, I'm pulling on it, don't come out. It's inserted, it has a connection. So I'm done with this wire. That's how hard it is. You push it in, you're done, okay? Do the same thing for the neutral on this side. I'm not gonna wire up the neutral, but put the neutral on this side, and then, ground over here, or if you have a conduit system, you don't have to worry about the ground, okay? Now, what if I need to take this out? Like this outlet went bad, something broke or something like that, I need to take it out. All you need to do is take another piece of wire, and you're going to strip a little bit off, about 3/4 of an inch. And then there is a little spot in here, and it tells you to remove the wire, you have to basically release it through there. So you can almost see it. I don't know if you can see it, but there is a little bit of a brass. There you go. You can kind of see the brass on the one side. So you're going to take your wire and try to poke at that brass. you just basically push it in, and what that brass piece is going to do is it's going to release my wire. So I'm going to push it in and basically push it in out. And I can't really show you a good view of this. Once you get the right spot and you slide it in, the wire comes right out, and then you could pull the other wire out. So just show you one more time. So you go in there, kind of wiggle it back and forth until you find it, and then the wire comes out. Okay, guys? And this is the most common way for wiring out an outlet. So you're going to get this in the out of the box, pull the old one out. Wires are going to be hooked up. You cut them off if you'd like, okay? Otherwise, you can try to reuse the hooks that are in there already. But the proper way to do it with a fresh wire is you're going to strip about 3/4 of an inch off the end of the wire. Use your wire strippers or your electrician tool, and you want to pay attention to the way that the screw rotates. So this screw rotates clockwise. So if I did it this way and bent it around, it's gonna try to basically push the wire out. So what I want to do is I want to go counterclockwise. So if the screw goes clockwise, I'm going to bend my wire around counterclockwise. I'm going to hook in this hook, and let me see if you could see this hook. There we go. So I'm going to take it, I'm going to take my wire and hook that hook right there. See that? So once I hook my hook, and that kind of holds the wire in place, I'm going to bend this around the screw and keep bending it until I get to the other side here, and that also has a hook. Now my wire is bent, and all I need to do is take a screwdriver, tighten this up. And because I'm going in clockwise, the only thing that's going to happen in the clockwise position, sorry, I don't have a lot of room because I'm trying to get that camera. All right, so it's actually going to tighten that up more. As you turn the screw, it's going to bend the wire closer to each other, give you a nice tight connection. Okay, so you got a nice tight connection here. That's all you do. And then since I'm not using this one, I'm going to tighten this up. And I'm going to do the same thing on the neutral side here. So I'm going to go ahead and strip my wire. It's about 3/4 of an inch. You can go a little bit more, but you don't want to go too much. Same thing, I'm going to go counterclockwise. So I'm going to hook my little plastic piece. I showed you where it was before, so I'm not going to show you again. I'm going to go counterclockwise, hook this other spot. There's basically 2 little hooks in there. Tighten this up. Okay, now that's tight. I'm almost done. If this was a outlet that uses conduit, you know, and the box is attached to conduit, the box grounds through these screws here. So you don't have to worry about the ground here. But if you're using this for Romex, they usually have a separate wire. It's either green or it's bare, like this. And if you, as you see, there's actually no place to bend the wires like we did before. So here you're just going to take your electrician's pliers here, and you're just going to go ahead and make yourself a little bit of a hook like this. You can tighten it up a little bit, make it a tighter hook. Okay, and do the same thing. You want to basically put this so when you turn it clockwise, the open end is to the right, and then all you do is tighten it up. Okay, you can even see that it pulled that wire around a little bit more, and that's fine. It just has more surface area to make a good contact. Now I'm ready to put this back into the electrical box. So what you want to do is you always take your wires and you bend them like a Z. So I take it, bend it like a Z like this. And sorry I don't have a long enough ground one, but you get the point. So now when I go to push it in the box, the wires will crush for me nicely. That's basically what you want it to look like inside the box. And then you can adjust it a little bit so that it fits nicely. You don't want it to be twisting the outlet, you know, one way or the other. You want it to sit flat. And if you do this with the wires on a Z, it's gonna be easy to do that. You might have to tweak it a little bit to give you a little bit, to adjust it a little bit, okay? So, oh, I left my screw loose. I'm gonna tighten this one up. Some people put black tape around here. Typically that is not code. You don't have to put tape around here. Once you put it in the outlet box, the box itself, it'll keep it from touching anything that's dangerous. But if you're concerned, you can add tape. It's not against the law. You can add tape. The nice thing about adding tape is, for some reason, if you end up pulling this out without pulling turning electricity off, it might help you, but you should always turn electricity off. Okay guys, I just showed you how to wire up a typical outlet here. Here's the issue. In my mom's house, you see there's these outlets and they only have 2 prongs. They don't have the ground. That's really bad. Can never seem to plug anything in anymore. So the goal is to replace this. But here's the issue. Somebody previously painted the walls and they painted the outlets themselves, including the cover. Okay, the outlet and the cover. That you don't ever want to do. And this is why. A couple of reasons. One is she painted over this. I can't get this cover off the outlet. I tried. She did it in all the outlets, and the last one I did, I ended up busting it out of the wall, which is what I'm going to do here. The other thing is paint gets inside the terminals here, and it blocks up the terminals. It causes poor contacts. You could have arcing. You can actually start a fire if you're not careful. So you never want to paint an outlet, okay? If you want the outlet cover to match the wall, you take the outlet cover off, you paint it, you let it dry, then you put the outlet cover back on. Or you could wallpaper it. But in all honesty, if you do the wallpaper, they have these clear ones and you put the wallpaper on the inside and it works a little bit better. Or you just leave it white, or, you know, beige works better for your color scheme than do beige. The nice thing about having like a white cover and white outlets is they're easy to find when you're looking for them. When you paint it the same color and it's kind of dark, sometimes it's hard to find an outlet. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do, I already did this, but I scored all the way around. Okay, I'm going to try to dig in a little bit here. Oh yeah, you can see I didn't even bother taking the screw out, and that's because I did on the other 2 and it didn't do any good. So what I'm trying to do is just break this free from the wall. There we go. You see I kind of got my screwdriver behind here, so with it behind, you're going to pry it out and you're going to actually bend or break. There we go. I'm going to pry it out both ways, and you can see what I did. I broke this, and that's okay now that it's bent and broken, but because now I could get to my screws to get the outlet out. Okay, so I got it completely away from the wall. Now I want you guys to notice this outlet, there's gold screws there, and then if you turn it over, silver screws. Okay, and that's pretty typical, and silver is usually the neutral. Neutral are usually white wires. Okay, about 99% of the time your neutral is going to be a white wire. If it's not, it's probably because somebody wasn't following code or something unique. Sometimes people play around with white wires, or they use a different color wire because it just works for them. Also, if you're doing a three-way switch, that's when it gets a little tricky. So not every neutral is white when it comes to three-way switches. So, but, okay. So the white goes to the silver, and the power, now usually power is black, but this is orange. Okay, so power wires can be black. Most commonly are black. Sometimes they're blue, sometimes they're red, sometimes they're orange. In this case, it's orange because that's coming from the wall switch. Okay, but the problem with that is it turns on both of these at the same time with the wall switch. So I notice when I'm inside here, hey look, I got the black wire there. So what I think I'm going to do, if I could find some wire around here, I think I got some wire downstairs. I'm going to add a black wire to this, and with my new outlet, I'm going to break the tang off in between the two screws with the new outlet. And then what that's going to do is it's going to give me the ability to make one of these powered by the switch and the other one powered at all times, because I actually need that over here. So. Okay, so you can use this to check, make sure you didn't have no power, that you turn the circuit breaker off. I probably should have showed you that first, but nevertheless, I have no power here, okay? Go on the wire, I have no power. The other place I'm going to check, I want to tap onto this black set of wires here. So I'm going to check and make sure there's no power there, because you can't assume that both of these are on the same circuit breaker just because they're in the same box. So now I know there's no power here. I can safely go and unscrew this thing and tap it. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and unscrew this and use the pliers. So if for some reason I don't think I could twist this, I might untwist all the wires and twist them all at the same time. A lot of times it works better that way. That's ideal. So I'm going to do that. Okay, so you can see I got the three wires separated. I'm going to take this wire here. I'm going to line them up with all three and take my pliers. And here's the deal. Just watch. Line up all three wires where the ends are lined up. So see how they're all lined up? And you're going to take your pliers and grab all four wires. I'm going to hold it tight and twist all four wires at the same time. Now as it gets a little twisted up here, you can see it's twisted up here, which is good. You want that. Now I'm going to loosen it up and take another bite. And I'm going to try to get a really good, what they call a mechanical connection, all the way to the end. So I'm kind of going a little bit further, closer to the end and twisting. So there's a really nice, clean mechanical connection here. It's a little long, so what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to nip the very tip off like this, okay? And then now I can do my wire nut. Okay, so make sure you get the right size wire nut. So I'm going to use these. If the wire nut's too small, it won't even come close to grabbing the wires. It'll just kind of spin, spin, spin. If the wire nut's too big, it will spin, start to tighten up, and then after a while, all of a sudden, you feel like it'll just keep spinning and spinning. A good wire nut should get plenty tight, and if you need to, you could take your pliers and carefully give it a little bit more of a twist. Okay, that's a good solid connection. I got no bare wire showing, and a good mechanical solid connection, and it's safe. If you want to, some code, depending where you're at, requires tape around here. But if this isn't going to hit my ground, because I got this connector on here, so I'm okay, I'm safe. So I could go ahead and kind of push it back in here where it was. You can see this is pretty obvious. This is gold, very bright gold. And this side is silver, you know, a nice shiny silver or chrome look, okay? Now, they use the outlet to jump these two whites, which is what I'm going to do. that might not be according to code. Some code makes you tie these together and have a third wire come to go to the outlet. It's up to the village itself, city or whatever. Now in this case, you're going to see here, there's a little connector right inside here that jumps these two. So because I'm going to have a switched outlet, here's my switch, and the other one I want power all the time from here, I'm going to break that out. So there's, if you have needle nose pliers, okay, here we go. I don't want to do the neutral one, I want that one. So I grab it and just kind of bend back and forth like this, and look, it comes off. Can you see that? I know it's not focusing very good, but it comes off. Now these two are two separate outlets. This is going to power that outlet, and that's going to power that outlet, which is what I want. Now the next part, attaching your wires. Okay, so this one still has the loop in it, but I'll show you how you're supposed to really do outlets. There is a little hook right there, and the whole purpose of that hook, you take your wire and hook that, and then you bend it around like this. I don't know if you saw that. That gives me my nice hook to give me a really clean, lots of metal to metal contact, and it holds it in place. You might have to, sorry, you might have to keep it tight. Sorry, it's a little off frame, but you get the point, right? Okay, so there, that's all I did. I just tightened that up. Sometimes, you know, I'll do all this and I'll double check and make sure, give it one more. I way over tighten these things, but I'd rather have it too tight than too loose, because these, when you go through heat cycles, wires will actually expand, contract, and then it'll get loose in the connection. And when it gets loose in the connection, if you didn't have it tight in the first place, it will cause arcing, and then it could start a fire, or you just lose the circuit altogether. So I'm going to do the same thing. Hook in there, whoops, pull it around like that. And I actually did this the opposite of what I was supposed to do, but it'll be fine. Tighten it up. Okay, so this is going to be my power all the time. This is my switched outlet. I'm going to go ahead. Now you can, you know, if you're replacing outlets and you want to just use the hooked wires, you know, you could go ahead and play around and try to get it to hook. You might have to fight it a little bit. Like that. There, I just got it on there. So ideally, when you're using the wires hooked already, you want the hook to go in the direction that you're going to turn the screw to get it tight. And that way it doesn't spread the hook open or wider. And do the same thing here. Fortunately, I got plenty of wire here. Okay, and also you want to keep down tension on this wire while you're tightening it up. Usually what I do is I get the screw close, and then kind of loosen it, pull the wire down with my fingers. Now I tighten it. Okay. Look guys, I just hooked it all up. Now the next part, this is always a little tricky. I got a lot of room in here. It's a deep box, but I'm going to push this one wire back deep so it doesn't interfere. And you're going to take and do like a Z bend with your wires. And then what you do, shove your wires in, and I kind of take the outlet, I push it on an angle, and I push it in like this, twist it, push it in like that, so that it has kind of a natural position when I tighten the screws. If you don't do this right, it wants to push it out, or it wants to twist it on an angle this way or twist it on an angle that way. If you do it right, now when I tighten up the screws, I'll be okay. Now, when you tighten these up here, okay, there's a little drywall. You don't bury this. You tighten it where the tangs here have pressure against here and here. You don't want to bend this all the way in, because you could tighten these up and it'll bend it in and it'll cock it, and then your wall plate won't fit right. That's the whole idea of these. These catch the drywall. And I'm going to tighten this a little bit. And then now when you put your outlet plate on, I'll show you. So I'm going to take my screwdriver. This is another, oh, this is commercial electric. So now you put this plate on, you can see it already looks like it's perfect. When I tighten this screw, because I don't have this outlet too far in, I'm not sucking the plate in a lot. It is tight around the wall. I got good tight fit around the wall, but I'm not bending in the middle and breaking my plastic. So that's it, guys. You just change the outlet. I'm going to go ahead and check it, which you want to do so yourself. Make sure you have power to it. You know, plug it in, and I'm going to see. So I'll be right back. I'm going to turn the power on. Okay. Obviously, I turned the power on. Okay. And I have it plugged into the outlet to the right, closest to my little dresser that'll get pushed back there. And the only reason I did it to the right is so that it's easy to get to the outlet that I want to plug my vacuum into. So I'm going to turn the switch off. So you can see, switch works, right? And just to show you what I'm talking about now, if I unplug this, plug it into the other outlet, I'm going to switch the switch on and off, and it stays on. Alright, so I'm going to show you one other thing. So we know that works good. I have this tool here. This tool checks to make sure that you wired it up correctly. And I don't know if you can focus in on this, but it tells you, gives you basically, if it's working good, you're going to have 2 yellow lights at the end here, 1, 2. If you have any other combination, you read the combination, and that's what you either got it wired wrong, you're missing a ground. So if you plug it in, you can see the two yellow lights are lit and no red. And then I'm going to check both outlets since I wired them up a little bit differently. And look at that, it works. Now you know you did everything right. These don't cost that much money, by the way. You don't have to get a really fancy one. This one from Commercial Electric. They make some other ones, and they work. They work really well. Hey guys, thanks for watching Martin McChucker's Tips and Tricks. I'm not a professional, but I play one on YouTube. I can't believe you stuck it all the way out to the end. That was a very long video, but lots of good information wasn't it? So hopefully that helps you out. If you want to see more videos like this, hit the subscribe button. The like button helps me out too as well. If you hit that bell, you'll be notified when I upload more videos, which will be soon. So thanks again for being a fan. I'll see you next time. There's a off, a low, and high, and you go up to the outlet. Except this one's kind of cheap, or the batteries are dead. Try this, and you can see, I mean, this really sucks. Really sucks. And I have no power because I turned the power off, obviously. These freaking cheap, oops, sorry. These cheap freaking razor knives suck. All right, I probably have to put the phone down, so here.